My Dress Up Darling Season 2 was one of my favorite anime from last year. I really felt like it had a ton of momentum, the episodes juggling comedy, drama, and romance with a deftness that kept it from ever dragging. Then, a couple of days ago, I put on Season 1 of the anime while looking for footage for another video, and I was really shocked by how different it looked and felt. Like, in my mind I knew that there were visual differences, and that the series probably had some production benefits after the smash success of the first season. But there was a lot more that changed that only came up upon direct comparison. More than anything else, Season 2 felt like a show that grew up from where Season 1 left off. Now, when I say grew up, I don't mean that it suddenly became the most serious anime out there. It's still the same goofy, crass whirlwind of a show that it was before. What Season 2 did is it matured as a story, building on what the previous season laid down before it. All of the same ingredients are here, but by simply changing the ratios of each piece, the complete product takes on a wildly different tone. It still looks and feels like My Dress Up Darling, but there's so much more to dig your teeth into. Let's look into what exactly changed, and why that had such an effect on the series as a whole. There's no better place to start than our main two characters, Marin and Gojo. If Season 2 is all about shifting the emphasis around a bit, we can see that nowhere more clearly than in the main romance. Season 1 was a showcase for Marin, no two ways about it. She dominated every scene she was in, pushing the plot itself forward in most cases. She asks Gojo to start working together, begs Juju to do a photo shoot with her, and asks Gojo to go to the festival with her. These are just a few examples, but she is the engine that makes Season 1's story go. Gojo is a reactive character as a result, responding to Marin more than taking the lead himself. There are some exceptions, and it's part of his persona to go above and beyond on anything that he does. What made Season 1 Gojo a bit unfortunate for me though, is that this reactive personality meshed too well with a lot of the high school boy in a romance anime tropes, and it felt like he spent more time blushing and flustered than acting normally. His relationship with Marin felt a bit awkward at times as a result. As a final note too, with Marin in the spotlight so much, Gojo's character felt a bit simple. In this season, he's helpful, and he loves working on Hina dolls. And that's kind of it. Now, I'm being reductive, and some of the ruminations on passion and work were genuinely interesting. But I think that for being one of our protagonists, Gojo suffered from the season being structured so much around Marin. Season 2 made some really clever changes that shifted this dynamic, without disrupting things too much. Remember this idea as we go along. The genius of Season 2 is how seamlessly it makes these little changes, small reshufflings that have a big impact. Funnily enough, Marin has the least changed about her in this season. Her desires, her passion for cosplay, her boisterous and vibrant personality, none of these are different in this season. Instead, it's the expansion of Gojo's character that in turn makes her operate differently in the confines of the story. Gojo is more confident in this season, which goes a long way. He still gets flustered from time to time, but he also speaks up when something is important to him, and has become confident in his skills. Most of all, he is comfortable around Marin now. This is a huge game changer, because it allows so many more feelings to bloom between them. A scene like the one where Gojo comes to help a sick Marin could never have happened in Season 1. The beauty of this moment is that he is caring for the person he loves, and that there's no doubt that he would be there for her. He's not a stuttering, blushing mess. He's confident and warm. Gojo is not immune to the usual comedic moment, but those are the exceptions rather than the norm. Another stellar moment comes in episode 6 of the season, when Gojo does Marin's makeup for the school beauty pageant. The pressure is getting to him, the expectations being placed on his work. The thing that pulls him out of doubt is simple: Marin asking if he's okay. The confidence she has in him is all he needs to have confidence in himself. His level up moment is realizing that his love for Marin is what helps him to do his best. I also just love the intimacy of this moment, and how the audience shots drive home how special this relationship is. This is helping to equalize their dynamic, the importance that they both hold for each other. Marin may be the same for the most part, but Gojo and their relationship are both elevated in this season. The knock-on effect is that she too becomes deeper and more interesting, benefiting from this new environment. One of the other ways My Dress Up Darling Season 2 changed is in the purpose and presence of side characters. Frankly, here things are night and day in terms of differences from Season 1. Season 1's side characters with plot relevance are basically the Inui sisters and Gojo's grandfather, and between them, there's not much meat on the story bone. Shinju has the most to say, but her story of admiring and wanting to live up to her sister, while heartwarming, was fairly simple. In comparison, Season 2 is an explosion of side character depth and importance. New characters like Amane and Akira get their own backstories that are wonderful, stressing the importance of acceptance and community. We take time to get to know them and learn about their past, making them more than just characters that sky in and dump their message before leaving again. Even Juju and Shinju get more to say in this season, and we learn more about them in this crowded space than we did when they were some of the only supporting characters. All of this is possible because the show is comfortable carving some time away from Marin and Gojo, and I think overall that's an amazing choice. More points of comparison, more plot lines, more character arcs. They all help to make the world of My Dress Up Darling feel more lived in, something worth exploring. And I've only scratched the surface. There's plenty more faces that all get their own purposes here. Maybe even more than the changes to the main romance, this supporting cast breathes so much life into Season 2 of this anime. The last thing I really want to touch on is the visual changes between Seasons 1 and 2. I personally think that Season 2 looks better than Season 1. The character designs feel more expressive, and the lighting effects give so much more depth to some of the scenes. But honestly, I think that this is really subjective. If you like how Season 1 looks more, I think that's entirely fair. What I don't think is up for debate is the ambition that Season 2 has in its visuals. You would not think it coming from a slice-of-life romance anime, but there are some scenes in this season that really think outside of the box. The entire POV sequence in Episode 7 is so creative, an exploration of the 3D space and perspective that I still think about randomly from time to time. Or Episode 5, which is almost entirely composed of moving camera shots, with all of these wild pans and zooms. Or any of the in-universe media cutaways, where we get to see different sources of cosplay outfits. These existed and were cool in Season 1, but Season 2 took them to a new level. The coffin sequence was bewilderingly cool, unnerving and freaky with that pixelated art style. These are some of the coolest shots I've seen in any anime, and the density across these 12 episodes is insane. Even if the style isn't to your taste, the techniques are undeniably impressive. My Dress Up Darling Season 2 is a progression from its predecessor in so many little ways, tweaking its formula to allow for a much more interesting story. Since this is based on a popular manga, I am aware that this change exists on a continuum, not a creative choice between anime seasons. That's why I think saying the series grew up is appropriate here. Any story that carries on long enough is going to mature in a sense. Without additional depth for the world, you risk the plot and relationships getting stale. What we're seeing between the 2 seasons of the anime is just that natural progression, where the main romance is getting more serious and the story really starts having something to say. I wanted to make this video because of how perfectly that change lines up with the season break, and also how it accompanies some really impressive visual upgrades. It's that convergence that creates a jump that really grabs your attention, and what took My Dress Up Darling from a fun anime in season 1 to a second season that scored a 9 out of 10 in my book, all without losing the heart of what made the series successful to begin with. And to be clear, none of this is an indictment of season 1. It had its purpose and was the very reason season 2 could even do the things that it did. Now all that's left to see is if it has any more tricks up its sleeve if and when a season 3 comes along. And that ends this episode of Love and Anime. If you enjoyed the video today, liking and subscribing helps a ton, as does hitting the hype button on the mobile app. I'm Slam Anime, and I'll see you next time.